Duke Dumond featuring Jack Jones and I Got You right here on Nile FM Drive. As I mentioned earlier, today on the show, I'm hosting Omar Samra, and he's right here. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very, very good.
Was the ride here okay?
The ride was okay. They almost stopped me from getting in.
Oh, the gate.
The classic.
Yeah. So you get all the way over here, and then you run into problems at the very end of the road.
Yeah, there was no tasrih apparently. So, but in the end, it turned out there was a tasrih. They just couldn't find it.
Yeah, that's
the classic.
That's classic. So, Omar, adventurer, entrepreneur, public speaker, future astronaut. The important question is, can you cook?
I can.
You can.
Yes.
Great, perfect man.
Not very good, but enough to survive.
So
I've cooked in the Arctic for myself for a few weeks, so I think I can.
What did you cook in the Arctic?
We make we actually, contrary to popular belief, we actually do cook normal food.
In the Arctic?
Yeah, because we just melt the snow and ice for water, and then we got pots and pans and a stove, and yeah, we can cook some nice stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was never in the Arctic, so I have no idea.
Well, come sometime.
The weather's nice, I assume, over there at this time of year. It's great.
Oh yeah.
So you have on your list the first Egyptian to do a lot of things. You did the Adventurers Grand Slam, they call it, right?
Yes, Explorers Grand Slam.
Explorers Grand Slam. 7 summits and the North and South Pole.
That's right.
And maybe future first Egyptian to go into space.
Potentially in a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I heard it was this year, but
they keep pushing it back. You don't want to rush them with these kind of things.
It's space. So
let them be ready, and then we'll go.
Yeah. So my question is, at what age did you decide that this is what you wanted to do with your life?
Actually, I was 16 when I climbed my first mountain, and that's when I got really hooked onto the idea. And then I was, stopped by my parents for about another 5 years to go back into anywhere close to the mountains.
Okay.
And so when I graduated and moved to the UK and sort of, was independent, I started to chart, my own path, and ended up a couple of years later, quitting my job for a year, traveling, around the world, and that was kind of the kickoff.
Why do you do it?
I do it because I like to detest the limits of human possibility. I think we live most of our lives within the boundaries and comfort zones, and we never really get to understand how far we can go mentally and physically and even spiritually. And I think being close to nature and going to these lengths have just, made me a better person.
Well, that's inspiring. We have a specific reason for you coming over today to talk about Kidathon. We're going to get to that later, but I do want to, for people who don't know who Omar Samra is, I just want to talk more about other stuff, the things that you've done. What was the last thing that you did, by the way?
I just came back from the States. I was there for 2 reasons. The first one was that I was doing astronaut training for about a week at the Embry-Riddle Aeronautics University in Florida, and I was there with a couple of other Egyptian guys, and we were a team of 15 there, and we were basically studying. It's going to put people to sleep, but we were studying something called new noctilucent clouds. It's a rare type of clouds that only appear in the summer near the upper latitudes, near the polar regions in the mesosphere. And by studying these clouds, which no one's been able to do yet, but we will be able to do it once we go into suborbital flights, can give us a huge indications on what's happening in terms of climate change. So
your space journey is not so far out into space. It's a bit closer to Earth, and this is the reason you're doing this the space thing, right?
Well, no. When I won the space competition back in December 2013, basically, and got a guaranteed space flight whenever they fly.
Okay. So they're 2 different things.
Yes, this is an opportunity for me to add more of a science component, so that potentially my space, experience or resume or whatever has a little bit more to offer than me just going up there and coming back. I'm also doing beginning of the start of the school year next year. I'm doing a program, hopefully, where I get to tour Egypt, cover 100 schools, and run hopefully a national space competition. And so building that experience on the science side also, not just on the exploration side, can really help me a lot with that.
Well, that sounds really cool. We're going to come back to more from Omar Samra in a few short minutes. First, though, back to the music. Hosier and Take Me to Church.
My lover's got humor.
That's Dylan Francis and Kygo featuring James Hersey, and coming over right here on Nile FM Drive. If you're just tuning in, I do have Omar Samra with me right here in the studio. How you doing, Omar?
Very good.
Yeah?
Yep.
He has this huge smile on his face, so I believe him. It's not a joke. So you're here to talk about Kidathon, which, as the name suggests, is a marathon for kids. But your big event is coming up on May the 6th, which is a Friday. So can you tell us more about exactly what Kidathon is and what's going on with it?
Sure. So the concept actually came to us last year. We've seen there was a rise in alternative types of fitness and sports in Egypt, even running.
Yeah.
There's various organizations that organize big runs for like hundreds and even thousands of people, but there's nothing yet that focuses purely on kids as a center of the event.
Yeah.
And so we did one last year in Gona. We're doing one in Salah Hashish this coming weekend, but the big one is in Zamalek on May 6th, like you said. And we're bringing about 400 kids together, running in the streets. And we're going to have a day full of other things like, all kinds of kids workshops, arts and crafts, yoga, this and that. And we're going to, close up the event with a performance by Karaoke.
Yeah, well, people can still register. You still have a few spots left if people want to register. So
I think we're about 90% there, and people who want to register. The registration is actually a cool thing. So the event is free, and the way people register is that they donate a toy to Marwa Faith's Toy Run, which is a charity that I also actually am involved with, and the toys come from that specific event are all going to go to Abu Rish Hospital, the kids' hospital.
Yeah.
So if people want to register for the events, they can go to the Facebook page of the organizer, which is Muricata. That's Muricata.
Muricata.
Yes.
Muricata. Yeah.
And they'll find all the details there and they can register. But if they want to do it, they should do it soon because we're almost capped for registrations.
Okay.
And with that registration, they get the kit sort of with their T-shirt, their number, running number, and all that sort of stuff, and invitations for the whole family for the concert as well, because it's by invitation only.
All right. Well, that sounds fun. But since you mentioned it's kids, so obviously you have to take some precautions and security measures. It's going to be in the street. So what are you guys doing for just to make sure that the parents don't feel worried that their kids are in any kind of danger?
Absolutely. The safety is obviously a top concern. We've been working very closely with Zamalek Guardians, which is a volunteer group that has been working in Zamalek for a very long time, organizing lots of when it comes times for elections and other various events that have happened in the streets of Zamalek. So people in Zamalek are very familiar with them. And we've also sought all the necessary approvals from the government, so everybody knows that we're doing this. And we're only closing. We're on the streets literally for like between an hour and 15 minutes. Most of the event happens in South Sawi next door. And so it'll be safe. We've got probably about 70 or 80 volunteers taking care of the runners, and lots of as as the space industry expands, they're going to want all kinds of people, from artists to if you're going to go to
engineers, architects,
you're going to go to Mars, you need
gardeners,
everything. Botanists, everything you can imagine. And obviously, it's going to become commercial as well, and so obviously, people can save up for a very long time.
Save up their whole lives to take a trip to the moon.
Yeah, for about a few minutes. Yeah, it's really exciting. We were just talking about, the idea of Mars travel, which is the next big thing.
Yeah.
And then, that the Europeans are looking at potentially, establishing a permanent base on the moon. These kind of things that when we were young, we'd watch in science fiction movies and we'd think like, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
But it might be in our lifetimes.
It's really exciting that now the space race is no longer about who's going to land on the moon first, but it really is from a scientific and explorative and kind of like it's not fueled by who's going to win, but more of like, we're doing this because we want to find out more. We want to go out there. We want to explore things. We want to. It's from the way the direction that it's coming from is a lot more exciting than it was in the 60s.
Yeah, and I think the question you asked me in the beginning of the interview about why do you do these things?
Not if you can cook. I thought you were talking about that.
Okay, you did ask me that first, but the bit about like why do you do adventures and so on, and I think the answer to that is probably a very similar answer to what you might hear from some of these people working at let's say at NASA or whatever, and they're trying to also find out what are the limits of human potential. How far can we go? These things are out there, and we need to be able to try and find them.
Yeah.
And more to your point, a lot of people like looking at Mars and these kind of explorations, and and think it's all about exploration, but actually, this science is at the heart of it. As far as we can tell, Mars used to be a place that had water. It certainly has features that run through it that suggest that rivers and things have run, and it doesn't have any. There's a lot of radiation on Mars. There's nothing to protect the atmosphere, and so we want to understand what actually happened, because maybe we could stop that from happening down here.
Yeah, it is kind of like a look into the past of Mars is looking right here. This is what it could have been or might have been at some point, and maybe avoiding things happening here by studying what happened to Mars.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Carl Sagan, you mentioned Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to someone like myself and Salem, we don't necessarily come from a science background, but it's also important to have people like this involved and others, because when people are in the intersection of science and community, they can try and translate the science in a way that people can engage people more.
Yeah.
Because typically you always have the scientists sort of in a box talking to each other, and as long as the masses are out of the conversation, it's never going to become mainstream.
Yeah.
And it needs to become mainstream so that the cost drops. It needs to become mainstream, so we're all, as a humanity, we're all in this
involved
together
and feel like we're a part of it.
Yeah.
Well, Omar, thank you so much for coming. Good luck with everything. You're certainly an inspiration for a lot of people, and I'm very happy that I got the chance to talk to you.
My pleasure. I hope we do this again.
Yeah, me too. And good luck with Kidathon. For the last time, also, if you guys want to register your kids for Kidathon, the registrations page on Facebook is facebook.com/Muricata, MURICAT. Yeah, ICATA. Right. I missed an A at the end. Muricata. We're going to be going back to the music. Thank you again, Omar, for coming.
Absolutely, thank you.
And here's what do we got coming up? We got Taylor Swift. Stay tuned.
This is 104.2 Nile FM.